Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Now, what was I talking about? My name is V Noir, and this week I'm diving into the 2024 directorial debut of Zoe Kravitz, Blink Twice. I was like, oh my god, I did to double check that I said all of that correctly. Ha 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 ha. Um, yeah, 2024 was kind of a big year for her. Because I think last year she was in the Batman playing Catwoman, which is like, oh, that's super awesome. Another black Catwoman. Hell yeah. Filling in the shoes of Holly Berry. And then before her, Eartha Kitt. I was like, I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna remember, please. I'm not gonna keep that pause in there, but um yeah. And like truly, I'm so glad that I stopped using autocorrect on my phone because that apparently I was just too um I used it so much that it was causing me not to even try to remember how to spell stuff, and I didn't realize how dependent I had become on autocorrect to just remember it for me. And I had previously thought like, oh, I'm not letting AI or whatever technology influence me in that way. And then I realized that that was happening with autocorrect on my phone, and I was like, oh shit, I need to stop. Or like because autocorrect was becoming so much worse and like frustrating because it was autocorrecting things that I was like, huh, I did spell this thing correctly, but you replaced it with something that doesn't even mean the same thing as me, as what I was like intending to say. So, what are we doing here? Like, actually, stop. And then, of course, I, huh, I'm looking at Zoe Kravitz's Wikipedia right now too. Apparently, she's also Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie, which is kind of funny. So she's just made to be Catwoman. I'm just like trying to confirm when that came out. Oh, the Batman came out in 2022. Why do think it came out last year? Either way, I still haven't seen I haven't seen it. I still need to see the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. I'm like, oh, emo Robert Pattinson, back to emo. Why the hell did I think that came out last year? Ugh, movies that I have to watch. Yeah, oh my god, yeah. That came out in 2022. Blink Twice is the only thing she really did last year. And Caught Stealing is a movie that she's in. Um, Not that she wasn't in Blink Twice, I just didn't notice her. She had a cameo role in her it's literally just called Swanky Stewardess. So I'm thinking that was like probably in the very beginning. When they're at this cocktail party. Um, God, I went on such a tangent about autocorrect, and but it's like if you really do stop um doing things with your brain, trying to remember because your brain is a muscle. So it's like if you're not exercising it through like thought provoking things, you're gonna kind of just lose that ability. And you have to like relearn it, which is crazy to think about. But it is the case, and it's like so much stuff is happening. Like so much stuff keeps coming out about how AI. I'm like, I don't even want to call it um artificial intelligence because it isn't. It's not intelligent. It's generative. It's just regurgitating things you put into it. And but either way, generative AI is causing people to go into psychosis. And it's like I feel like it's a whole other thing of like just the loneliness that people are feeling and wanting to find connection. And it's so wild to me because it's like, yes, we were in lockdown. Yes, I mean, we're also currently still going through a pandemic. That's why the rise of fascism is still on its way because pandemics lead to fascism. Well, they lead to eugenics that then lead to fascism. Like that's literally what happened with the Spanish flu. It led to, the, has it heard a sound? It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Um, it led to like the Nazis and stuff. So it's like even at the very beginning of all of this, I was seeing like the disabled community talking about how, hey, we gotta rein this in. We've seen this before. And history tends to repeat itself. And, something like working from home was something that disabled people were advocating for prior to the pandemic. Because it's like that should just exist. I mean, if our government actually cared about um, children and cared about parents, something like that would exist, or like a hybrid version of that would exist because then parents can be there for their children while also still being productive for the company because, productivity is what matters in a capitalist society. Um, but of course, that doesn't matter. And it's like, yes, we're in lockdown. Yes, we were sheltered in place. But honestly, the shelter in place didn't really happen for that long. It was maybe like half a year, if that. I honestly remember being able to go back to work right away. And people who had essential jobs never sheltered in place, right? So it's like there's that. I understand the level of isolation that people who are COVID conscious go through because it's like I only maybe since last year felt like it was kind of safe to even go to events and stuff because I really wasn't trying to go do anything. I was maybe doing a thing here or there, but I wasn't really going out. And even, I mean, I still mask like most of the time, but even when I would go out, it would just be like one or two events, masked, trying to keep my distance from people. I mean, it does also feel like a level of cognitive dissonance when um I can interact with people online who are COVID conscious and who are ringing the bells and sirens about like, hey, there's cases increased in this area and wastewater in this area, and hey, we should probably have better air quality indoors and like ventilation system should be updated because those are the things that would prevent COVID and any other illnesses spreading and none of those things happening. And it's like, I, time and time again, I'm reminded of how the world could be so much different. It could be so different. I don't know. I'm a little tired. It's 1:40 in the morning. I have work in the morning too. But it's like the world could be so different. Like we could live in a society that actually cared about its people, that put its people first, that put children first, and um was expansive about gender, um, and cared about like medical advances, that cared about actual technology that was for the betterment of people, in that, it made tasks easier. And I mean, like, physical tasks, not, oh, it can help you write an email. It's like, okay, writing an email is not hard. You say what you need to say and move on. Which I just remembered I have to I'm like, schedule sending emails. Oh my god. That is a godsend because I do need to I need to type up an email and schedule send it because I'm better about emails when I remember and then schedule it for later rather than trying to write an email at the time that I need to send it. Like it's so much easier for me to just be like, all right, I'm gonna just do the email right now at 2 o'clock in the morning and schedule send it for 10 a.m. tomorrow. But gosh, I don't even know. Again, what was I talking about? Um, I know. I mean, I think what I was trying to say was like, yes, we did the shelter in place. Yes, we're sort of distancing ourselves from each other, but that didn't really last that long. Um, but I am really curious where this sort of level of like loneliness is coming from. And like, yes, I talked about it in my mini-sode, which honestly, that wasn't, you didn't need to listen to that. That was really just me going on a tangent and then talking about Jackson Wang for like 45 minutes. Um, but like I definitely have a level of loneliness from isolating myself. But that's like isolation that's happened for like the last 20 years of my life. Um and now I'm trying to figure out how to navigate through things. Um and try to, I don't know, be in the lives of the people around me more, I guess. It's interesting. It's also like, oh man, I'm in my 30s, so and everybody else is like in their 30s, and now we have to like sort of schedule hanging out and stuff. It's such an interesting time of my life. um it's like, okay, yeah, I want to meet new people, but like, oh wait, how do you meet people outside of like school situations? Um 'Cause I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I had a easy time making friends, like, growing up, 'cause I'd be like, "Oh, that person's sitting by themselves. I would be sitting by myself. Here, let me go talk to them." Like, I would do that kinda thing. But I think also I just was able to just, like, suss people out really easily. Um, and I guess I would kinda resonate with a person just, like, a little bit. Um, it was similar to how I know my friend made fun of me for this, but like, 'cause I would see like a rock on the ground and I'd be like, "Ooh, that's a nice rock." But sometimes I would pick up a rock and I'd be like, "Oh, no, I don't want this rock." Like that's how it'd be with like people, I guess, where it's like, oh, I could see someone resonate with them a little bit and kind of feel like this person is important or will be important to me, or like someone who I think I'll have like a meaningful relationship with, a meaningful friendship with, and a meaningful friendship with in the future. And that's how I made friends, or that's how I like reach out to people and initiated conversations of like, oh, that person looks cool. Let me go talk to them. um, but it's also like I turn that off a lot, I think, because I don't know, kind of weird to talk to people on the sidewalk, I think. Or at least I like hate being harassed by people on the sidewalk, and I don't want to come across as someone a harasser. Um Not that I am, but it's just like it's just uncomfortable when a stranger comes and tries to talk at you. I mean, usually they're trying to like get your number or something, and it's not like I would do that with a stranger, but yeah, like I don't that's honestly, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever like asked anybody out. Not really. Even though I'm such like a I mean, I just went over how I make friends. And like I never really asked anybody out. Now that I think about it, I've let people ask me out, and then I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, oh god, that's not really how you get in relationships. I mean, that's how I did in my 20s, but my last relationship ended when I was like 25 and my brain fully formed, and I was like, wow, I should not be in this relationship. Um, who? I want to talk about my ex from like, 'cause I'm 32 now, so I'm like from 7 years ago. Oh my god, 25 was 7 years ago for me. Oh my god, passes of time. Um, yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, and I haven't been in a relationship since then because I felt like I didn't know myself fully, honestly. I didn't know what I wanted. And at that point, I was figuring out that I was non binary. I was working at Good Vibrations, the sex shop at that point too. Um, it's a sex shop over here in the West Coast, and it's more of a boutique setup because honestly, a lot of sex shops are not. Ooh, they're like just kind of dark and dingy, and I don't know. I mean, I remember going into one with like my friend, and because we were just like, oh well, we know the sex toys and stuff, and this guy was just so fucking rude to us. I was just like, what the hell? Like, well, we wanted to support local business, but you just made us uncomfortable. That was so weird. And this was one where they had arcades in the back, which that's not an arcade as in a game. It's an arcade as in you basically like pay for a minute. It's like a pay-per-view situation where you're as someone with a penis um able to watch I don't think it's like live girls, but like you're able to watch porn essentially and then jerk off in the room. Like that's what an arcade is to a sex shop. And we would have plenty of people that would come into our store and they would go in the back and be like, "Where's the arcade?" Like, we're not that kind of store, you guys. Our store is well lit. It's not dark. Um, but yeah, so that was interesting to go into a store, a sex shop that also had an arcade in the back because I was like, "Ooh, I kind of want to, I want to look and see what that looks like." But again, this dude was fucking rude as shit. So I don't even know. Oh, okay. So like working at GV, which is what we would just shorten it to, um, and just meeting other non-binary people, and then like because this store provided like information, um, for all ages. Well, I would say all ages in the book section, and I would say all ages as in it's like for parents of like trans and gender nonconforming kids to understand like what their child is going through and explain it to a parent essentially. It's not like they were selling like we weren't selling like kid stuff or anything like that because you had to be 18 or over to come into the space just because of the nature of sex toys. It's like no. Um but yeah, so all of that just helped me realize like, oh, I've never felt like my assigned gender at birth, like ever. Like I was comfortable in my body prior to puberty. Like I really didn't think I was gonna go on a tangent like this. I truly was like, oh damn, I'm only gonna talk about one movie and it's probably gonna be a short episode and I'm like, I'm already 20 minutes in. Talking talking about Xmas, my old job, crazy stuff. Um, but yeah, just like thinking about like pre-puberty, I was very comfortable in my body. But then learning about puberty and like changes that were gonna happen to it. And then, this whole idea of like becoming a woman because of my period starting and stuff like that. I was just like, I I don't know, I was just kind of in shock really because I was like, oh, I don't really want to change. I'm very comfortable in what I am or how I was in the present time before puberty. And so, but I was just like, if this is the only option, I guess I have to go with it because, I didn't know about puberty blockers. If I knew about puberty blockers, I would have been like, sign me up so I can figure this shit out. Which is why I'm like, we're in the fucking future. People can decide to prolong a puberty until they figured out what the fuck they wanted to do with their body. And we're not allowing that to happen. Like, literally, like, I hate that Republicans have sold people on the idea that like children underage are going through surgeries and shit when the only thing that is available to someone before 18 is social transition, which is just a person going by the pronouns and like name change clothing that they're more comfortable with that isn't necessarily aligned with like their born gender. And for the most part, any sort of medical anything that'll happen would be puberty blockers. And this is something that has just been available for like a very long time. It's not just for people who um believe they're trans or gender non-conforming. It's also for like girls who might start their period at 9, which is not the age that a child should be having their period. So that would be like another instance of someone going on puberty blockers because um a child that young having a period is very, very dangerous. And um it just shouldn't be happening. I forgot there's like medical reasons why that could happen, but puberty blockers would be introduced to a girl like that. So it could be prolonged. Ah, but yeah, I mean, also, I gotta remember what that book's called. Always kind of come back to it um, because all of this talk of like puberty blockers and things like that kind of reminded me of this book. Um, I think it's Neil Shusterman. Yeah, I think it's called Unwind. I think it's this one. Mm. Oh yeah. hmm Neil Chesterman. And it was a book called Unwind, where essentially, um, that's what it was. Okay, so it came out. This is a book that came out in 2007, and it's it's a dystopian novel about how the U.S. went through a second civil war, and the reasoning was over abortion. And so there was a compromise that was kind of reached where parents were to sign an order for their children between the ages of 13 and 18 to be unwound, where they're basically taken to these harvest camps and dissected into their body parts for later use. Um, the reason behind that is since 99.44% of the body is used, unwinds do not technically die because their individual body parts live on. Um, I'm like fully trying to remember why, because I think it's more like the parents have a choice. They to unwound their child when their child reaches the ages of 13. It's not that every child ends up like this. It's just that because I'm reading it and also trying to comprehend at the same time when I should have just paused, read it, and then summarized. Um, which is what I'm doing now. Yeah, like this was crazy because I do remember do want to reread this book because this was a lot. It's only 335 pages, not chapters. Because I do remember, or I think I remember a scene where we're in the perspective of a child who is getting unwound, which was wild. But I'm also like, I hope I'm not remembering. I hope I'm not mixing it up with the scene from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where you're in the perspective of the main guy. What's his name? I need to reread that too. I gotta figure out where that book is. Um, One flew east, one flew west, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Da-da-da. This is the movie. Book. Wait, what was I trying to? Oh, I was trying to look up the main guy's name. McMurphy. McMurphy, yeah. Yeah, I'm like, hopefully I'm not remembering. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I need to find this book again because I forgot there was also um we were shown like a few different scenarios. One where it's like, oh, this person's probably gonna get unwound because he's a delinquent, he's a bad kid. And then another perspective of this other child who was raised to believe that it's his duty to be unwound because of his religious like upbringing. And it's like, oh, okay. Um, man, and there's just like this beautiful, beautiful scene at the very end. I don't really remember how the book sort of concludes really, but I do remember this beautiful, beautiful scene where one of the people who kind of came up with this concept was able to gather all these people that were given parts of his son, and um he got like I think most of the people that got some part of his son, and he interacted with that group of people, and then his son kind of spoke through them to him, and it was just like whoa. And I think what's interesting about that too is that I remember seeing some article about how all these people had been given um they were people whose lives were saved through like transplants and stuff, and how we were in the article the the interest in things of the person who had passed to then donate their like organs were told, and the person with the newly like donated organ was finding themselves like interested in a certain type of music that they never had been interested in. Um, but that was kind of linked to the person whose like transplanted body part was given to them. And I'm like, that's just so, it's like you truly just like live on, like all parts of you are like you. And that's beautiful and um melancholic. Yeah. I'm just like, wait, where am I going with this? I definitely want to reread Unwind because I'm like such an interesting story. I was definitely reading some Neil Chesterman. What he doing? Oh, he from Brooklyn? I feel like there was something else from him that I was reading. Everlost. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my god, did I ever? I don't. Whoa, whoa! Now I'm on his, I'm on his Wikipedia, and like the way there are so many more books to the Unwind um story. I'm like, oh, okay, so it definitely didn't end with that first book. And then he released, but it's like, oh, that's such a big gap because it went from 2007 and then 5 years later to 2012. So I'm like, at that point, I wasn't even like 2007. I was in the young adult, um, uh, like demographic. There we go. By 2012, I'm like in college. I mean, I guess yeah, I was still young adult, but I wasn't like paying attention to Unwind. I remember getting that at like my local public library. Same with like Everlost too. That one was really cool. What was that about? Doo-doo-doo. Everlost is a place between life and death where some children end up after getting lost in their journey to the afterlife. These lost children, or afterlights as they are called, are unseen by the living world. If I remember correctly, it's usually like dead or dying. I was gonna say vegetation, but more like shrubbery and like um forests that are dead in our world are alive to them. So they're able to sort of travel through these like spaces in that way, which I thought was really interesting. That one only has 3 books. The first one came out in 2006. Um, and I don't think I knew about the other two, so I think I definitely read that didn't know there were more. 'Cause I probably read it. I think I read that first, and then I found um, Unwind. So I probably read it in like 2007. And I was like, "Oh, another Neil Shusterman book. Let's let's check it out." um. Anyway, we're in the future. So many things. Like I just saw a whole other article where like the first honestly, there's so many things going on. And I'm doing this for my mental health. I'm like, let me stop getting sidetracked. I'm singing from my diaphragm because I really wasn't doing that during the Jackson Wang episode, and I was like, oh, why did my voice seem so low here? What's going on? I wasn't projecting. And now I am. And I'm like, okay, I can actually see the wave, like good, good. Um, but yeah, that was like, yeah, I guess that's kind of nice. Just do a little catch up. I mean, I didn't mean to be gone for like 3 weeks. Technically, I did do the mini-sode. I meant to record this last week and upload it on Friday, but I was like, that's crazy. Let's not do that because I did the Jackson Wing one. And I think what I am gonna do is like I'm continuing on my march to Halloween, so I want to continue to talk about like thrillers, horror movies. Like next week, I should be talking about Jawbreaker, which is more dark comedy, but I'm like kinda it's leaning towards like thriller. There is murder. It is very campy. It's not exactly a slasher. Marilyn Manson is in it playing a creep, so I think it counts. I think it counts. But I'm also going to talk about Heathers, and I'm also going to talk about Mean Girls and how they all relate to each other because Mean Girl, like, oh my God, talk about inspiration from Jawbreaker. I was like, 'cause I was hearing that over and over, and then I finally watched Jawbreaker, and I'm like, literally from the very beginning with that voiceover and like the three girls who are the most popular. I'm like, what the fuck? Mean Girls is like snatched the shit out of this. Even though Mean Girls is technically based on a book, but it's like a not a self-help book, but like a parental advice book um for like parents and how to help their like kid navigate through cliques and stuff and bullying and boys. Um but yeah, it's like okay, so yes, Mean Girls was definitely inspired, but it's also like they were definitely taking visual cues from Mean Girls, not necessarily like plot from Mean Girls. And then Jawbreaker was definitely taken from Heathers, which is like the director acknowledged, like, yeah, he was inspired by Heathers, he was inspired by Carrie, and actually wanted it to be more of a horror movie. And then, of course, he was inspired by John Hughes movies, so like literally every teen movie that came out in the 80s. Because when I looked up John Hughes, I was like, no, wait, so he literally did like everything. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pretty in Pink, um, anything that the Rat Pack was in, essentially. Um, I'm like, oh, what is my demographic? I'm like, do people know who the Rat Pack are? Um, I mean, they were um all these like teens that were always. Hey, I just looked it up, and now I'm like, am I wrong? Oh wait, I think I said this, and I meant something else. Because I'm like, oh wait, no, this is definitely the Rat Pack, but this is like the. I'm like, damn, how are they called? Oh my god, they were called the Brat Pack. Okay, there we go. Yes, I know about the Rat Pack, but also they were called the Brat Pack, which was just a play on the Rat Pack. Okay, I was talking about the Brat Pack, said Rat Pack. Oh my god, this feels like a tongue twister right now. Um, I'm gonna explain one at a time. Now I feel like I'm gonna mix it up because I'm slightly dyslexic. Um, Brat Pack. It's a nickname for a group of young actors that were frequently together in coming of age like films in the 1980s. So that included Molly Ringwald, Demi Moore, Amelia Estevez, Rob Lowe, Ali Sheedy, Andrew McCarthy, Anthony Michael Hall, and Jude Nielsen. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was like, please, I just needed to explain this one thing first. Oh my god, yeah, St. Elmo's Fire. That was like one of the movies that they were all like in together. And then anyway, so the Rat Pack, they're a group of people that they were just a group of singers essentially from the 1940s and 50s. Um, Nat King Cole, Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra. Why the hell was I about to call? Um, Singers and entertainers. Oh, okay. Initially singers, and then in the second iteration, it was also about like A-list people who appeared in films together. So then you also had Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, um, and like yeah, this is over different time periods. So then also in the 1960s, um, Frank Sinatra was joined by Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, Peter Lawford. Oh, God, how many oceans? Ooh, I kind of want to watch this Ocean's 11 from 1960 with Sammy Davis Jr. But that was a movie that they had appeared in together. Oh, so cool. I'm like Sammy Davis Jr. is so cute. I honestly forget that bleh, that Frank Sinatra was also an actor. I always think of him as a singer, and I'm also like, oh, he just looked like that, huh? Not in a good way, not in a bad way. Um, oh, he from Jersey. Oh wow, he lived at 82. He died in 1998. That's kind of wild. He was born in 1915, which is even wilder. Um, God, how did I even get on this topic? Oh, because I was explaining Rat Pack, not to be confused with Rat Pack, which is what I did. Oh, and so, oh, goddamn. But yeah, so that's gonna be next week's episode. Excited to talk about that because I'm like, I finally watched Jawbreaker, which is on, it's free on YouTube with ads if you don't have premium. And honestly, it's like a really, I enjoyed it. It's very colorful, very campy. It is like a cult classic because I don't think it did that well in the box office. Like Mean Girls is the thing that is like the breakout um of the three movies I just said of Heathers, which didn't do well. I mean, honestly, people didn't like that movie. God, yeah, Jawbreaker didn't even make back its budget. Um Heathers didn't make back his budget either. Yeah, no. And Heathers is such a cult classic. I fucking love that movie. And to sort of get me to talk about Blink Twice, Christian Slater is in Heathers and he's also in Blink Twice. And I was like, oh, he still looked like that with his angry eyebrows. I love me an angry eyebrow on a man. It's just cute to me. I'm just like, your eyebrows just stay like that, huh? And then it's cute when they get out of that. I'm like, oh, you can make other facial expressions. That's crazy. I don't know what. I think it's really because I'm recording this at 2 a.m. right now that there's a Heather's TV show. Right. I love Wikipedia. I think I nope, nope. I found out about the was it Mean Girls? Something that I didn't expect to have a TV show had a TV show. Mean Girl Murders from 2023. Oh wait, is this a the documentary? Cruel Intent. Oh, I love Cruel Intentions. I did just recently watch that with my roommate too, who hadn't seen it before, and I was like, "Yep, this is that kind of movie. I need to watch Dangerous Liaisons, not the Amazon show that they just made. Although I think they called that Cruel Intentions, so Cruel Intentions. Honestly, I don't want to watch it mainly because of the guy's hair. I'm like, that's not like, yes, I get that. Um, Technically his hair is like what's in right now for people that age, but I'm also like, you could look a little bit like you could look a little like this can look a little better, right? Please. I'm trying to remember. Oh, yes, yes, yes. The girl who played the woman who plays Piper in The White Lotus is in the Cruel Intentions show playing the main like one of the main characters, the stepsister. Oh, what a tale. A tale is old as time? It's not. They're weird, weird, weird. Because they're not blood related technically, but there's a whole bet that happens. And she's like, I'll let you sleep with me if you lose. And if, wait, what? No, if you win, I'll let you sleep with me. And if you lose, I'll take your car. That was the bet. I'm like, wait, that's the win-win for both, for her, I guess. Um, there's 8 episodes of this? What the hell? I mean, I think that's another thing too, because like the movie is like maybe an hour and a half, if that. So what the fuck are you doing for 8 episodes that are like 50 minutes? Like those are like basically 8 movies. Like what are we doing? What are we doing? God, okay. Because I knew Dangerous Liaisons was um based on a book, and but I didn't know the book was from 1782. Like goddamn. Yeah, the movie's only 97 minutes. Like, what the fuck are y'all doing for 8 episodes? What are we doing here? And somehow I got on Curl Intention. I don't even know how I got to Curl Intentions. Yeah, I can't even figure out how I got to Cruel Intentions. Um, oh, because, oh, literally because I was looking at Mean Girl Murders and they said Cruel Intentions as the description. Love that for me. But anyway, so to get back to Christian Slater, who is in Heathers and also in Blink Twice. Blink Twice, um, the plot goes as such. When tech billionaire Slater King, played by Channing Tatum, meets because of the actions, meets cocktail waitress Frida, played by Naomi Aki, who I didn't realize was British, but she's British. Um, he has an American accent, a really good American accent in this. Um, he meets her at his fundraising gala. He invites her to join him and his friend on a dream vacation on his private island. As strange things start to happen, Frida questions her reality. Again, this is Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut. She also wrote it with E.T. Fergen Fergenbaum Bang Fergenbaum Fergenbaum. I think that's how you pronounce that. Um, yeah, it's kind of got like a stacked cast too because I mean, there's Channing Tatum, Haley Joel Osment is in this, which I'm like, oh my god, it's the boy from Sixth Sense. But no, he's done he's done way more stuff since he was a kid actor. Um, do a little rabbit hole with him because I'm like, child acting is honestly it's just dangerous work because it's like you get so exposed. Like unless you have to have good parents behind you, like Miranda Cosgrove, because she seemed to come out okay. Um, but like you anyway, so he's in this. Christian Slater, like I said, Kyle MacLachlan makes a cameo, and I love him. He's in so many things. He was in the original Dune. that David. Honestly, he was a frequent collaborator with David Lynch in the 80s. So he was in David Lynch's Dune, playing Paul Trahey's Trahey, Trahey, whatever. Um, he was in Blue Velvet. Is it Blue Velvet? I swear I'm not going to go on another thing. Oh, I'm so sad that he passed away because of the fire. Yes. Oh my god, my memory is working. But yeah, Blue Velvet and of course Twin Peaks, playing Detective Dale Cooper. Love him. That was like the first big thing that I saw. Big thing as in like extensive thing that I saw Kyle MacLachlan in, and he's great. I love him. And he's such a character actor too in general because he's so like super expressive and stuff. So he's always like a good time on screen. And oh, there's Stacy, played by Gina Davis, who, I mean, I wrote down that was Slater's mom and he was just calling her by her first name as some people do. Um but I don't know, when I was looking at the information again, it was saying that she was just his assistant, and I'm like, was that not, he definitely called her mom. Anyway, so Gina Davis, recognized her from Thelma and Louise, and I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. And she was in Beetlejuice. I mean, this is like stuff that I've seen. She's done plenty of things since the 80s, but I recognize her from seeing her like in Beetlejuice, Fly, A League of Their Own, A Long Kiss Goodnight, like that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, I haven't kept up with your career. I'm sorry, girl. Um, and then who else? Oh, Simon Rex, who I recognize from the show with Amanda Bynes. What I Like About You. He was in like two of the scary movies. He's done like music videos and stuff. Um, oh, and then Jess, played by Aaliyah Shawkat, who is Naomi's roommate and best friend. And I was like, she looks so familiar, and it was so funny to find out that she was in Broad City playing Ilana's girlfriend, who basically just looked like her. So like Ilana's twin, because there was like this whole gag on like how gay people end up dating the person that looks exactly like them. And then there was like a whole gag where she was doing like the mirror thing and they were like mirroring each other. It's getting freaking. So fucking funny. I was like, why does she look so familiar? And I love that she has like freckles. Because I hate that that's one of those things that people get bullied about, and then you grow up and everybody's got using this fucking TikTok filter. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I don't have freckles, but like that would kind of piss me off. This thing that people probably made fun of you for, and now people are using it as a TikTok filter. Like, what the fuck? Um, or doing like their makeup as freckles or whatever. And then Frida, again played by Naomi Aki. I had to look her up and I'm like, oh shit, she was in End of the Fucking World, which I loved on Netflix, season 2 specifically. And she was recently in Mickey 17, which I'm like, oh, I still gotta watch that fucking movie. When to watch it. Mm. Just one of those things that I missed. In the beginning of the year, I'm like, I really need, like, movies that I'm anticipating now are Weapons, which is coming out. Honestly, it's coming out the day that I post this, so on Friday. Um, God, what was that stalker movie? Lurker. I think it's called Lurker. I want to see Lurker, but I don't remember if that came out. And I want to try to see the new Ari Aster movie, and um, which is Eddington. And then also I wanted to see the movie that Naomi Aki is currently in, or it's like currently out in theaters right now, called Sorry Baby. Maybe just to see her in something else because, or at least something else recently, because this movie is rough, or it gets really rough. And I'm definitely glad that there was a content warning, a trigger warning in the very beginning about like the sexual violence and stuff because it definitely prepared me to even, you know, sort of navigate that and like be okay with it, and it's like you're expecting it. And then when we get to what they're going to show, it's done in such a it's done in such a fantastic way where you see something and the rest is kind of left to your imagination. And I like that it was done that way rather than sort of in like a trauma porn situation of like overly showing the audience what's going on. It's like, no, we get it. We get what's happening. We can fill it in. And I also like that as like an audience member because it's like you're letting us think. You're not treating us like we're stupid. You know? I'm like, oh no, this is perfect because it's also playing with memory and how he doesn't fully remember. And so she's remembering things in these like flashes of memory and it's like, oh, this is really traumatic. But before getting into that, let's rewind to her Naomi. She runs this like Instagram where she does like these animal nail polishes. It's really cute, actually. I'm like, oh, that's really cute. But she works as a waitress with her bestie Jess. We're seeing like this sort of news thing going on with Slater King, Channing Tatum's character, and how he's apologizing about something. He's stepping down as CEO. He's gonna take a break. Yada yada. The rich guy, I'm sorry I did something wrong. Apology that we always hear. And we can already tell that Frida, she's attracted to him. Honestly, it's kind of in like a later on we realize what kind of attraction it is because in my mind I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just assuming she's just sexually attracted to him or something. um because he's rich, he's young, he's attractive. I would say, I guess he's like objectively attractive. Anyway, so they um Jess and Frida go to work. They're at this catering gig. It ends up being a gig for the gala that Slater is hosting, yada yada. And Frida being all fun and cool or whatever. I think it was Frida. Feels like a Frida thing to do. She snuck in some really nice dresses for her and Jess to wear during their break at work, which is hella funny. And so they act like they're guests there. And Frida uses this opportunity to like sort of chat with Slater, essentially, and try to get closer to him. And you can tell that he's kind of taken in by her and stuff too. And then this is when we get Kyle MacLachlan's also it's like a quote from the trailer too, where she asked him like to blink twice if she's in danger, and he's like blinking really crazily, like, ah, you're in danger, girl. Um Whoopi Goldberg from Ghost. Quote reference. Honestly, I say that all. It's either I oscillate from "You're in danger, girl" to "I'm in danger." The Simpsons, the little boy from The Simpsons, Wilson, is that his name? Gosh, I took like a little break, and I'm still. Is it Nelson? Nope, Nelson is the bully. Fuck, what the fuck is this little? Yeah, just look up Simpson characters. There are a lot. Um, okay, I just realized it'll be easier for me to say Simpsons, I'm in danger meme. Ralph. I wasn't going to remember that. His name is Ralph, and he's in the bus that's about to go over a cliff. I'm in danger. Love that quote because you know what? Yeah, sometimes it's just like that. Anyway, so she gets invited Rita and Jess get invited to Slater's private island to basically party nonstop, as if, the world's gonna end, but not really. And Frida jumps on this opportunity for a reason. Like you can tell that she's like really taken in by Slater for whatever reason and just like attracted to him. Like or like there's a strong attached attraction there for whatever reason. And um you can kind of tell that like Jess is going along with it, but also is just like, well, and they're given their own rooms. They're kind of told what to wear, essentially. Like they don't have to think about anything. And also, when they first enter the island, all of their phones are taken away. And it's like, I don't know about that. Why are you taking the phone? As if it's supposed to be like a resort situation where it's like, oh well, this is just a time for you to unwind and disconnect from social media and all this stuff. And we also get this sort of interaction between Frida and I just wrote down badass maid for her. It's this woman. It's a maid played by Alina. Let me start that over. Played by Maria Elena Alvarez. Alvarez? Alvarez. There we go. Maria Elena Alvarez. And she calls Frida Red Rabbit over and over again. And I was like, is this like a Alice in Wonderland reference? What's going on? Because I wasn't sure if they were going to be metaphorical about what's going on here. Um, with like memory and stuff like that. But we'll get to that later. And so there it's this like weird island. I'd say I'm calling it weird because there's all these snakes that are around that you kind of see people go out of their way to kill and like behead. And that's because the venom is so poisonous, allegedly. And I'm like, why would you have this is like the thing that bothered me. It's like why would you have an island with all these poisonous snakes and not like try to I don't know, eradicate them or something, I guess. I mean that's kind of fucked up for the local I was gonna say economy, but local biodiversity um in the area because predators are important. It's not like how cats kind of decimate local environments if they are out and about because cats unless they're like super feral but like a house cat outside kind of just fucks with like the bird population. It might be the same with feral cats, but I feel like feral cats are closer to um big cats, especially if they haven't been domesticated at all. So it's definitely like they're not hunting for sport, they're hunting because they're hungry. Either way, random tangent. I'm like, just keep your cat inside, please. Like, actually, adopt cats, keep them inside. It's really important for the environment. I'm like that. That should be like a whole campaign of like, adopt a cat. Um, help the environment. You know. But what was I saying? Yeah. So it was like this is kind of weird. Like, why are you still on this island? And I kind of understand why now that I'm thinking about it, but this was feeling like odd to me. Another thing that was kind of keeping two things that were coming up again and again is like Slater talking to Frida and asking her about how she has this scar on her face. And she doesn't remember. She just has no recollection of it. And another thing that happens too is Vic, who's played by Christian Slater, is Christian Slater's character. Um Slater kind of pokes fun at him and asks Vic, like, "Oh, how did you lose your pinky? I thought that was an interesting story." And then he never gets into it. And it's like, huh, that's weird. Why would you bring that up and then not explain where that came from? Why are we here on this island of snakes? Why do you know like what all of these women's like sizes are without any sort of measurements? There's this perfume that they're made to wear, or it's a part of the get up. They do drugs every night as a part of like a dessert ritual, essentially. And you kind of see this sort of repetition of like, wake up, put on these white clothes, eat breakfast, um, have, hang out at the pool, get high, have dinner, get high more. And we're also starting to notice Frida, she keeps looking at her fingers. She keeps looking at her hands. She's looking under her nail beds. And her fingers are getting dirtier and dirtier. And we're also seeing these glimpses of all the women, because it's not just Frida and Jess, it's also this woman named Sarah, who it's brought up again and again that she is a reality TV star and she won this like bikini survival show. And I'm like, so that's going to definitely be used later on in the movie. Like, you're not going to just bring up that she won a survival show and we're not going to see any of her survival skills at all. She's played by Adrina Arjona. And then there's Camilla, played by Liz Car- Carabelle. And then there's Heather, played by True Mullen. Like, who else? Yeah, so Jess and Frida are joined by these three women as well, who all kind of honestly, like at first I thought that Frida and Jess were kind of the outliers and these other women were more high profile, more famous or whatever. I mean, you have the reality star. But then later on we realized that oh, they're also kind of just normal women too. Like even the reality TV star, sure she was on reality TV, but she has a regular ass coffee job, and that's how she runs into Cody, who was played by Simon Rex. And he's like a photographer in this. Um, who invites him onto this island? Who invites her onto this island as well? And then you kind of also realizing that, like, oh, so these men sort of invite these women who are just regular people onto this island because they know they're kind of taking advantage of the fact that these are people who probably lack money, lack resources, and probably want to escape from like regular lives essentially. And they're taking advantage of that, of people being in vulnerable places like that. Not that they're, like poor or anything, but um, they work minimum wage jobs, probably not dealing with a lot of upward mobility in that way. And I mean, like finding a rich husband who can like, sweep you off your feet and you don't have to work anymore and all this stuff. Like, yeah, that's a fantasy that people have. It's like, wow, that would be so great if I didn't have to work every day for a living and I could just be at home doing not that. So it's like these are opportunities that obviously they could take advantage of. And these men are taking advantage of that because they have that knowledge, right? And so, as we're seeing this repetition of these days, and there's kind of glimpses of all the women at nighttime running in their white clothing, and we're, at first it seems like they're running because it's like, we're running and jogging and having fun. But slowly but surely, it's like, oh no, they're running out of fear. And we really get to understanding that that's what it is when Jess gets bit by a snake and is poisoned, or the venom gets her, and so Jess is freaking out. She's like really freaking out. She's like, I don't want to be here anymore. This place is weird. I don't know what's going on. And Frida is kind of in like this sort of high state, not really like comprehending, but not really. And then all of a sudden, the next day, Jess is gone. Her room is empty. It's become like a storage room now. Um, but Frida remembers her. And I'm saying that because when she talks to the other women, she talks to the men, well, specifically the other women, they're like, I don't remember a Jess. I feel like I remember a whole other person if they were here. And then all of a sudden, one of the women is like fidgeting with a lighter, a smiley face lighter that was specifically Jess's and has her name on it. And Frida takes it and is like, this is proof that she was here. This is hers. And Sarah specifically is like, I feel like I would remember this. Like I believe you, but I don't understand what's going on. And at this point the men are like out fishing or whatever. So they're not even around for this. Thank God. Because I'm like, okay. I was also at a point where I was like, I want something else to be happening now. So I'm glad that we do get to this point of drama and like realization for Frida, especially because I'm like, what was your friend? Like your friend is gone now. Babe is like, we need to figure out what's going on. Like, wake up, girl. And so Frida ends up getting into like Slater's um bungalow house or whatever on the island, and she finds this room filled with all these red bags. And in the bags are they know that these are bags that are given to guests of the island. The only other guests they've seen on this island leaving have been men. And specifically inside of bags is this perfume the girls have all been wearing. And Frida's kind of piecing it together that the perfume has been making them forget. And she runs into that maid again who gets her to drink the venom of the snake. And then she's able to remember. And then she's able to remember no, Jess getting killed the night before. And that sort of freaks her out and wakes her up. And she's getting all these glimpses of different things where Jess is like gave her a knife to hide behind the mirror and was trying to wake her up to like what's going on and trying to get her to remember. And whew, it's really intense. So then Rita gets Sarah to also drink the venom. And then Sarah's also remembering what's been going on. And then they sort of trick the other women, Camilla and Heather, into drinking the venom as well. But they tell them it's just shots. And so both Frida and Sarah are having these flashbacks, and this is kind of when we get into why the trigger warning exists and what I was kind of talking about earlier and how this part of the movie was portrayed. It's like we're just seeing glimpses of the men chasing the women, of the men like pinning the women down. And it's not super graphic, but it is very intense and it feels real. Um, but it is in glimpses and shots. So we don't actually see the actions happening. Like we don't see them getting raped repeatedly by different all the different men that are there. Um we don't see any of that, but it's heavily implied that this is what they've been doing. And been doing every single night that they've been there. And every single morning, they forget that this happens. And that's why Frida's fingers are covered in all this dirt because she's been clawing away and trying to get away from Slater specifically. And so it's dinner time. The men are back. Frida and Sarah fully regain the memory of like what was going on to them. And, so they're angry. And all of a sudden, this is kind of like we're getting into the climax of the movie too. So all of a sudden, Camilla and Heather finally remember what's going on, and they um freak out. And I think, yeah, I think Haley Joel Osment's character Tom is the first one that gets killed, and Camilla specifically kills him, but then Slater ends up killing her, and then Heather injures Vic like really really badly, and but then she's killed unfortunately by Stan, who's been this armed guard that watches over like all of the happenings with the men and everything. He's played by Chris Costa. um and then I was happy about this, but Sarah ends up killing Cody. I was like, oh, thank God. Because I'm like, hell yeah, Sarah. Use those survival skills. And she takes down Dan and takes his gun. And it's kind of just left with Frida versus Slater. And so we kind of get why she was so attracted to him because she ends up remembering that this same time last year, she was on this fucking island and the same shit was happening to her. And she remembers because she ends up falling and hitting her head, kind of in the same place where the injury on her face is. And then she remembers that she's the one that bit off Vic's pinky finger. And she understands now why the maid was calling her Red Rabbit because at that time her fingernails were red rabbits. Ugh. And so she's even more upset. And it's kind of a showdown. Like Vic is just he's injured and kind of just out of it, honestly. And Slater kind of threatens to kill Sarah, and Frida is just like, no, don't do it. Well, in an American accent. I don't know why I was about to go British, but I'm not really, I'm not an accent person. I wish I was. Um, but we see Slater take a hit of his vape, and he ends up kind of forgetting what's going on, which is interesting. And I was like, oh yeah, Frida put the perfume in his vape, and now he's not remembering anything. So he forgets literally what just happened, and is freaking out over all the bodies and the fire and almost killing Sarah. So he's freaking the fuck out. Um, and so that's happening. His house is on fire. They end up like they end up leaving Vic to die in the building, and they only end up saving Slater, right? And so Sarah's like, "You better have a plan, Frida. You better have a plan." And she does. She does. She ends up marrying him and taking over as CEO, and she keeps him vaped up on that memory erasing drug, essentially. And, now she's Mrs. Slater King and is essentially gonna be with him probably for the rest of his life, torturing him and taking his money because she deserves that after all of what's happening. And so I believe that her attraction to him was kind of her body remembering all of what he did to her. And, like how hate and love, some people would say, are like on the same coin, just opposites. The passion that she was probably feeling and portraying was actually just hatred. And her body knowing to hate this man and her mind not knowing how to interpret that because she had no memory of what he did to her, and that's why she was attracted to him. And I'm like, oh, this is such an interesting movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked how they dealt with like um trauma, memory, um sexual assault, and portraying that in a movie because it's like they could have easily sensationalized that like so many other like horror movies have done in the past, like where the rape is the it's like it was used as the catalyst for the female protagonist to then overcome and take revenge on the people, but it's like, did we really have to see it to know that that's what happened to her? um And I'm like, this is a great film as like someone's directorial debut as well as something that she wrote. And it's like it's kind of topical with the whole Epstein like island thing going on because I'm like, was this fired by that island that they won't release the names of people that went on there? Um, Interestingly enough, but either way, I really enjoyed it. I'm excited for her to do um more movies in the future, that's for sure. And I do want to see Naomi's other movie that she's in. I mean, I need to see Mickey 17, but I also need to see Sorry Baby while it's still in theaters. I need to catch it while it's still in theaters. Um because it looks um kind of sad, kind of funny, just like a lot slower paced of a movie, and I'm like, definitely need like a not palate cleanser, but just like a more wholesome, kind of low stakes. Because I was gonna say grounded in reality, but it's like I don't know. Blink Twice could be somebody's reality. I mean, very fucked up. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It is a heavy topic that is eventually explored in the movie. Sorry, I'm like reading stuff. I'm like looking at things, but yeah, I think I'm gonna end it there. Took me a bit to finally talk about the movie, but honestly, I feel like a structure of doing a check-in update about my life because I am gonna have to. I'm about to. The semester's about to start again, and I'm like, I'm trying to be done with film school, so I'm gonna be taking 3 classes a week while also still working 4 days a week. So I'm gonna be exhausted, and so I'm thinking I'm gonna try to structure my recordings where I record like back to back to back and just preemptively record episodes, which kind of means I'll whenever I talk about like hot topics or like whatever is happening in the world, it's gonna I'm gonna fall behind. So I might have to pull back from saying things that are happening like politically or whatever. We'll see. I mean, again, it's like my show. I can do what I want. It's for my mental health. I just like yapping about movies and other stuff. I ended up somehow talking about gender, dystopian YA books, past relationships I was in, when I worked at a sex shop, um, kinds of stuff. We're gonna talk about so many random things. AI, loneliness. Um, I mean, humans are social creatures. Like that is what we are, and it's like we need to be surrounded by people and be in community with people. And I don't know, it's like that's just how it is. I was also not to go on another tangent, but I was like, I need to get these books on the history of like vaudeville because I really it's just so fascinating to me to think about like how wanting to entertain each other has just been like it's one of those things that's like baked in our DNA because it's like but also thinking about how even back then I mean essentially parents having children and then trying to make money off those children like that's not a new thing. It's new in how it's being done with like social media and the reach. But it's like during like vaudeville era, you know, you had parents had kids who were like, oh, they can sing, they can dance, they can do all these things, and they would throw them on stage and have them perform for crowds of people. And vaudeville, was just like it was think of like a multi-talent show situation where it was like a mixture of like circus acts, kids doing performances, minstrelsy, which is blackface essentially, which at the time was considered comedy as I roll my eyes out of my head. It's truly a mockery. Um, but things like that, tap dancing, comedy duo acts, people singing, like I said, circus acts and stuff, so acrobatics and all those things. So just thinking about like the history of that and how that kind of moved to film and you get like slapstick, which is a much older thing than I realized. But slapstick comedy in the silent film era, and then when sound's introduced, you get musicals and stuff like that. It's like it's so interesting. Just being a person and wanting to entertain and be seen by other people and I don't know, it's fascinating stuff and it's like all of that's kind of just evolved and it hasn't really changed. I mean, I wish like having talented kids is great, but I'm also just like, the kids should have like somewhat of a normal life too. I'm like, yes, it's great to encourage your children to want to, hone their talents, hone their skills and everything. But I feel like that could be a really isolating situation, especially if the talent has something to do with being on camera and being online specifically. Because it's one thing if they were like on television and stuff. I mean, I already talked about that kind of earlier with like going from child acting to being an adult and like how child acting can expose you to all these things. And if your parents aren't really there for you, like there's so many stories of like kids getting into drugs and becoming addicts while being like child stars. And it's like, and then having to grow up and go to rehab and grow out of that and then kind of look back at like the years they lost because of all of this and realizing that their parents weren't really safe people for them. Um yeah, I don't know. It's it's a lot. And like it's such a fine balance, and it's like you have all of that and then you have all the like predatory, I mean that in like the like more pedophilic sense. And like you had Dan with I forgot his full name, but the Mr. Feets guy from Nickelodeon who was really into feet. Um, that guy who was encouraging allegedly, um, trying to get them to like drink and stuff on set or whatever. I don't really know. I'm not gonna slander anybody. That's why I said allegedly. Allegedly. Um, I don't know. It's like it's a fine balance. I'm like seeing a cute child do a routine, like that's adorable. But I'm of the mind of like I don't really want to see that online. It's one thing if it's like on TV that feels more impersonal because I feel like on social media, when I come across that, it's like I feel like I'm invading the privacy of this child and this very intimate moment between a child and a parent. And I feel like I shouldn't really be here. So I usually like scroll away really fast because I'm like, oh, I'm not in their I'm not their family. This wasn't for me, is how I view it typically. Because I honestly think that children should have privacy. Um, a child um having a sense of privacy and security in that way is like very very important for like self-esteem, them understanding themselves. It's like very much a part of like a developmental aspect of child rearing, especially like when they're going from like preteen, like adolescent to preteen. Like that's a really important time for them to have like a sense of privacy and ownership of either like their space, like both their space and their body, and like having bodily autonomy in that way. So that's essentially how I feel. And like children deserve privacy. Um, children deserve to be treated like they're people who have their own opinions. I mean, yes, they don't really know anything, but that's what it means to be a child. That's what it means to be a parent. You're teaching them how to move through the world, how to regulate their emotions, which would also help you regulate your emotions because it's like, why get mad at a child for being mad and the child doesn't even know why they're mad? It's like you gotta not deflect, but like shift the focus. It's like, oh, if a child is doing something that you think is wrong, or like if they're being loud or something, or they're writing on the walls or something, it's like, oh, are you writing on the walls because you want to make this messy? It's like, oh no, you're writing on the walls. I'm thinking of like a toddler. You're writing on the walls because you want to draw and you have nothing to draw on. So let's move your attention to this big canvas. Like you're just changing direction, right? It's like, oh, no, we want the wall to stay this way, but you have all this right here. Or even going outside and y'all can make a mural together. Like, that's cute. I don't know why I just got into like childbearing and stuff. Um, I guess I'm gonna end it there. You can find me on Instagram at V underscore noir with a E underscore, or TikTok at V underscore noir. I am trying to stream on Twitch on Fridays, and I'm probably gonna stream on YouTube on Wednesdays just to try that out. I have like a stream YouTube now, which is V dot. Let's actually make that underscore so it's all uniform. V dot noir streams on YouTube. I have it linked in my YouTube for the archive for the podcast. Which, speaking of, the podcast archive officially is at www.nwwitapod.com. And I started a Patreon. I need to make posts on it. That is going to be patreon.com/vnoirs with S film club. And yeah, that'll be all. And I will see y'all next week. Bye.